Hello everyone. Uh, can someone confirm if you can hear me, hear my audio? That would be great. Can anyone hear me? If you can just put it on the chat would be great if you can hear my audio so that we can start the stream. Just a moment. Okay, thank you. Thanks, Akshay, for confirming. Yeah, hello everyone. I'm Grandmaster Priyadharshan, and welcome to the channel and to this match between Chess Gyaan Academy and Riverside Public School. So I believe all the games have started, and if there's any technical issues, I'll fix it as we go. But I believe everyone can see the game. The first board, I believe, is between PG2474, which is Pranav versus Vijay, and so far let's quickly look at what the first few moves of the game have been. And actually I think there's one game that actually got over, so we can quickly cover that and then get back to it. A very quick game between Prayan and Dakshan, and looks like black checkmated white in just 13 moves. So looks like a London system. And normally, okay, knight d2, generally sometimes players go knight f3 first, but knight d2 has been played in this game, and then knight c6. Very standard moves so far, and looks like, yeah, this was not really required by white. White could have just dropped back his bishop or gone knight e5, so bishop d6 is slightly suspicious in my opinion. And I can guess what have happened. Most likely there was some checkmate that happened here as white moved his knight. So let's see the game. c3, knight e4. Yes, as expected, that was the win. A very quick win for Dakshan from Riverside School. So I guess the game took at best like 2 minutes or 3 minutes. So the players could have spent more time, but it happens, I guess. So let me update the scoreboard. So that, okay, so Riverside School is on 1 point out of 9 boards. We have totally 9 games going on. So after the 1 game's done, we have 8 going on. So actually, let's look at this game. Abhinav versus Patodia, Anya. So looks like a lot of pieces have been exchanged already. So let's look. So Abhinav plays for Riverside School. So Abhinav goes for a very, a beginner trick, going queen h5, trying to, I guess, or he's trying to checkmate in few moves. Black goes for knight f6, which is actually a okay-ish move, even though black is dropping a pawn on e5. Black just develops and gets a lot of initiative in exchange. So for example, knight e4 would be an interesting move here, because after queen takes g7, bishop f6, and then the queen has to go g4, white can go d5, and so on. And actually black would have a lot of counter play for the 1 pawn down. But let's see what happens. So again, now black had a wonderful opportunity to capture the pawn, but I guess black did not, and black went bishop c5. So if it was black to play, there's actually a nice little trick. Bishop f2, king takes f2, and then knight takes e4 and win the queen. So let's see what happened. Oh wow. Black did get an opportunity to do that, but black did not play. So it happens, black goes knight g4. So still the threat is kind of real. The black wants to capture on f2 with a check. Knight b5, bishop f2. And so the one thing that I notice is that how quickly both sides are moving. This is something that a lot of young players actually make a mistake. You know, they could spend few more minutes. I mean, when we give players 25 minutes, that is for them to think and not just, you know, quickly make the moves. For example, in this position, a very good move would be to just develop the knight to c6, attack the queen, and h6 was completely, like, you know, not required. So let's see how the game progressed. Rook f1, so I guess black f7 pawn is the target, because bishop f7 is a real threat now. So bishop g4 check, good move. Wow, rook e8 is actually a mistake, because now white can just simply capture with a check and then take the rook. So that's what actually happened here. And white just blundered badly. So white did not see the fact that there was a big threat on e4, and white had a chance here to go queen e3 and not give up his queen for free. And white, like, okay, a quick viewer question, like, how can black checkmate in one here? It's very super simple, like absolute basics. Could just take queen takes e2 and it's checkmate in one. But black unfortunately did not use that chance, and black just started checking. And so here we are, and black has a wonderful chance to win this game. Just take this pawn with a check, and then infiltrate with the rook on the 7th rank, rook e2, and then it's checkmate somehow on the g2. So this would be very much, I believe, in favor of black, this position. And look at the pieces of white; they are completely undeveloped. So this is completely in favor of black as of now. So let us go to Abhinav versus Adi. And okay, this game also got over quickly. The games, I thought, were just starting out, but actually a lot of games have just ended. So let's look at Abhinav versus Adi. And here, so this is the 4 knights in the e4, and very solid, but nothing dramatic about this. It's just both sides just mutually developing their pieces. So in this position, when white goes h3, black's safest move is just going h6, because after castle, bishop g5, this pin is, to be honest, quite annoying. And here in this position, if it was me, the way I would try to break this pin is either I would go something like bishop e6, so that if knight d5 comes, I can capture there and reduce the impact of the pin on the f6 knight. That's something I would do. Or I would go an interesting move, something like knight e7. So what if black gets double pawns here? It's fine, because then I can go f5 at some point and undouble my pawns at a later stage. So this was kind of a bad move by black to go queen e8, because now actually white should have just simply captured and put his knight on d5, and then there's two pawns that would be hanging. But unfortunately white didn't exploit his chances. But again, there was a chance. Again, white did not exploit the chances, and a6 was such a bad move here. If black had spent few minutes, black would have realized what's the threat of knight b5, and that is this pawn being hanging on c7. So maybe a move like queen c8 or rook c8 defending the c7 pawn would have been a fantastic move. So a6, and then now white is a pawn and an exchange up. And here, oh wow, okay. So the important thing, if you are a junior player, is to see what or why your opponent is making moves. I mean, all the moves have some threat. It could be a good or a bad threat, but at least it will have something. Very rarely you make moves that have no threat behind it. So bishop d5 was aimed at pinning the queen, and black just moves the knight to a7, allowing a free queen basically. So this was definitely a missed calculation like black had oversight, and knight g5 is a very nice move, just forcing a checkmate on h7. So that gives another point for Riverside School. So Abhinav scores one more point. So let me update the score. Okay, so Abhinav scores 2. So Riverside, out of the 9 games, I believe 7 have still going on. 2 have been completed. So let me go to, okay, so I guess this game is also about to complete. So yeah, okay, so that's a checkmate in 1. Let's see if black spots it, which is just simply queen b4 check. And here actually comparatively black's time management, in my opinion, is better. You may ask, why is, like, white has more time, so how are you saying black's time management is better? The simple point being that black is thinking, and black is not rushing to make the decisions, and black has 14 minutes here, and the game can end in a move or 2. I mean, even if queen b4 checkmate is missed, black may find another checkmate, and so it's very good in my opinion, and black did find the checkmate. Fantastic result, queen b4. So important thing, as again I mentioned to all junior players in general, is that you need to take your time and think when you play. So queen b4, fantastic, and then so that gives 1 point for the Chessgyaan team. So 3 games have been done. And what is the one common theme that we see here? Basically, the final boards are the ones that have ended first. And what do we know by that? That strong players generally spend more time thinking and making their decisions, and that's one of the easiest shortcuts to become a strong player. So if you want to become a better player, when you are sitting on the board, think and make your decisions. Don't rush. That's like the simplest thing. So let's look at this game. We have not yet looked at this game at all. It's played between Janaka and Tanya. And let's start from the start. So looks like another 4 knights if knight f6 was played, but black decided to slightly deviate with bishop to c5. So that allows white, actually there's an interesting variation for white. White can capture knight e5, and if knight takes e5, white can go d4, and then both the bishop and knight would be attacked. So black has to give back the extra piece, and white can capture queen takes d4 and so on. So, and another point is if knight takes e5, if bishop f2, white can just capture king f2, knight takes e5, and white goes d4, and white has a very strong center. So the position just basically transposed back, and this was the move that I was saying in, I believe, in the game of one of the games that we were just looking at, where black failed to play h6 and allowed white to go bishop g5. So in this game, black makes a very smart decision. Tanya makes h6, so stopping white from playing bishop g5. a4, in my opinion, is not really a move that I would play. I would most likely go something like bishop e3, because piece development should be placed higher in priority in comparison to a4. Okay, so we'll come back to this game. It seems Chess Fan 2196 game. This game's been a lot of moves have been played. I believe we are basically in the end game. So quickly, let's see what happened in the opening phase of the game. So looks like a Gyukyo piano with d4. So this is like I don't know the name of this gambit, but it's a very interesting gambit to play. Okay, so f4, this is all theory, and here the best move for black is actually d6, so that if fe5, de5, white would generally go bishop g5 and try to put some pressure on this knight and the pawn, and black goes bishop e6. There's a lot of theoretical analysis behind this line. Knight c6 is comparatively dubious, and white correctly captures and goes queen d5 check. So now the black cannot capture because there's a pin. So black lost his right to castle. And here for queen e7, I think if I was playing white, I would just capture this pawn, because black's king is stuck in the center because black has lost the right to castling. In such a scenario, I think it is it's important to keep the queens on the board. Yeah. So in this position, okay, so this is called the max lange attack, I hear, and after queen e7, instead of, as I said, queen c7 would have been far better because the king would have been stuck in the center of the board. Queen e7, king e7, and here I would have preferred e5, so that the knight would have to move and then give a check if on bishop g5. But after bishop g5 had 6, okay, knight c3, a very strong idea behind it is to come here, and black correctly responds with c6, very strong move, stopping knight d5 check from coming on the board. So here rook a e1, d6, and rook f4. So as I said, rook a e1 here may not be the precise move. White could have just gone rook f4 and doubled right away. So rook a e1's idea was right, but this is one of those one move ideas. White is just threatening to go e5, and black just stopped it with d6, and then white ran out of ideas, and white had to go rook f4 here. So here white is doubling his rooks, and in this position here, let's look at it. So we have this endgame here, and d5, very interesting move in my opinion here, because I believe if I was black, maybe my first choice would have been to calculate if I can capture here and try to go d5, king d6. So by going d5 first, obviously white cannot capture e d5 because that would be a terrible move, because the rook would just be hanging for free. h4, very interesting choice. So white wants black to forcefully capture on f5. I think I would capture. The point of it being, after king d6 and king e5, it's very tough to defend. So let's say if black goes king d6, white goes king f3, black goes king e5, and how do I defend this pawn? I have to go g4, or I would have to go king g4. King g4 is a tempting move, to be honest, because I want to go king h5 and try to capture this. But if I go king e5 and g4, h5 I think is a very, very tempting. Okay, so they are following the moves that I was just mentioning all over. So let me remove the arrows. So now it's the problem though is that black is having c4, d4, d3 come up very quickly. So somehow I have to stop c4 from coming. So let's say I can go b3, but then black would go b5, and then black would try to go c4 and so on. And I think this game black is winning actually right now, because once the king comes back to stop the d passed pawn, the f5 pawn just falls here. So let us look at okay, so white is taking the risk of going king h5, but as I said, d4, c4, d3 would be winning for black. But let's see if black goes for that, or if black ends up capturing this pawn. If black captures king f5, I think it's an interesting game. So let's come back to this game. We'll look at other games. For example, let's look at this game. Oh wow, so this game is also about to be over. So this was the first board of the tournament, and again we see a similar, the 4 knights defend and black going h6 to stop bishop g5. So yeah, bishop e3. Remember, in one of the games I did mention, you don't go moves like a4, you go bishop e3, and that's what white correctly plays here. And d4. Okay, so here bishop d3 is not a great move. I would suggest maybe here. If c5, you can move the knight away to f3, and if c4, you have bishop a4, so the bishop is not really trapped on a b3 square. So let me remove the arrows, and so d5, I'm not big fan of this move. I think black would have just captured here, or just develop bishop d7 and so on, wait for white to play f4 and then capture on d3. So in this position, I like black's position, black, to be honest, because centralized pieces definitely have a lot of weightage, and that's actually a very interesting sacrifice, but that doesn't work. For example, let's say if I go bishop h3 in this position, the idea is if gh3, I want to go knight f3, but unfortunately white has bishop h7 check and win the queen. So black queen is kind of in danger here technically. So black should go something like knight takes d3 or bishop e6, but I believe black did play bishop h3. Okay, so black fell for the trap basically. The point of the trap is that if gh3, he wants to go knight f3 check, and if let's say king h1, then you go some knight d2 check and try to capture on f1 because there's a check here. But there is this nice little intermediate check which wins the queen for white. So good idea behind knight b3, a nice little trap, and black just lost a lot of material, and black is 2 rooks and a knight down right now. So let's see how the game progresses. Maybe some stalemate tricks, but I highly doubt those would happen in a position like this. So let's come back to this game. I'm not sure if any other game is over. This game is still going on. So we'll come. Okay, so there's another game which got over. So let's look at this. Narayanan versus Sid Suryan got over. So let's quickly go through the game. So we have a Sicilian. Majority of the games we are looking at was a Rilopez, 4 knights, Gyukyo piano kind of thing. And here the normal move is e5, which takes you to Sveshnikov, and something like d6 would be called the classical. a6 is dubious here. The reason is white would capture on c6, and after bc6 white goes e5, and there's no good square for this knight. So here white just missed a big opportunity, as I said, to capture knight c6. So bishop e3, e6, now it doesn't have the same impact, because after e5 you have knight d5, and this pawn is defending the d5 square. Oh wow, white just fell for the spin. The spin was very strong. So a lot of elementary tactics and mistakes we have seen so far in this match, like missing pins, missing like attacks and threats, and like not defending the attacked pieces or not seeing opponent's threat. So a lot of this are very, very basic tactical ideas. If you improve this itself, you get to become a very strong player. So white is just a pawn down over here, and now white ends up 2 pawns down. So for example, in this position, maybe a better idea would have been to go queen c3, so that you're at least only, like, actually you're not even 1 pawn down. Let's look at this line with queen c3. If black plays knight c4, bishop takes c4, d c4, there is knight takes e6. So the rook attacking the queen, and there's also a mating threat on g7 with the white queen being on c3. So black may have to go something like bishop f6 to stop, but that would lead to white just moving his queen away and winning an exchange in the worst scenario. So queen d2 is, very minor things that, like, when you have 18 minutes or 20 minutes on the clock, you can, easily spend that time to trying to figure out. So white did move queen c3. So white is trying to get back into the same idea, but black cleverly moves his queen away. So black does spot the fact that there is a threat of knight takes e6 coming up. And black consolidates with b5 because this is a pawn chain now you have. And after bishop b7, so, and another thing, in general, these kind of batteries, you see aiming at the king, is generally very favorable for the side that has the battery. So, wow. So f3 is necessity, but then what you see is a very poor pawn structure for white. Rook d3, in my opinion, a very strong move, because you're kind of going deep into the opponent's territory. And so here, I'm not sure why white went knight c1. White should have just captured rook d3, and white just lost a full rook. But white had a nice little trap here. White was hoping that black would capture here, so that he can capture here and get a backhand checkmate. Nice practical try though, I will give that. I mean, very resourceful move by white here to go queen a5. But black sees the point and black pulls back his rook. And black just exchanges everything of the major pieces. And for example, in a position like this, h6 has become very critical. Few moves ago where black played h6, so now there's nothing to worry back rank perspective wise. And bishop f3 is a sacrifice that is like to be played, and that was played in the game. Okay, so nice little check, intermediate check, and it's win for black. So let me update the scoreboard. So Siddharth wins this game. So that takes the score to 2-2, I believe, out of the 4 games, unless I've missed any game that's been over. So let's have a look at it. Okay, so let me remove all these arrows. I believe I made all these arrows when... Okay, so this was that end game that we were talking about, and looks like the game kind of progressed the way we were expecting it. So we left over here, and after king h5, black correctly goes d4. c4 would have been a mistake. Even though it looks like exactly the same, it would have been a mistake, because after c3, black would be finding it tough to create a pass pawn, because then d4, c d4, king d4, you have to try to create a pass pawn with d5. So d4 is correct. And if b3, trying to stop c4, then black can go b5. Then again, the c4 threat gets renewed. So c4, so black rightfully starts going for pushing his pawns. And interesting here, black does not try to stop white from queening, but black just says, I'm going to capture this pawn and create another queen after sacrificing my the current queen for the g8 newly promoted queen. And here, actually there is an interesting line here. So here king g6 would have been a very interesting move. So for example, there's one very basic endgame that many may have seen, where there would be a black pawn on h5 and white would have a pawn on c6, and the king would come all the way like here, trying to go this way and also this way. This is like an elementary endgame some of you may have seen. So this idea is very similar to that. So when you go h5, you go king g6, and if when f5 king g6, f4 h5, f3 h6, f2 h7, f1 promoted to queen, you also promote to a queen. And then black, there's some queen f5 check and ideas, and black could still, I feel, is preferable in that position also. Black would still win, but at least it's more practical chances than just giving up the pawn like h5 in this move. And this is just simply lost because the queen is just a far more powerful piece. So let's update this result so that Rishi won this game. So so right now I believe 5 games have ended, and 3-2 in favor of Riverside School so far. and what are the remaining games that are going on. So let's look at let's come to this game later because it looks like a very long game. Okay, so and this game also got over, so let's look at it. We left somewhere over here. Yeah, we left somewhere here, and I said the only chance is like a stalemate if black can try, but unfortunately I guess that also did not happen, and white just simply checkmated. Yeah, so it's like the simplest checkmate. You just keep the rooks far away from the king and then you just start checking them. Yeah, and checkmate. Wonderful result for Riverside, so another win for them. So let me change the results. So 4-2. So as it's a 9-game match, any 1 point more that Riverside School scores basically takes them past the 50% mark, and so that would be 5 points for them. And we still have 3 games going on, I believe. So we have not yet covered this game. I'll come to this game, and then these are the other games that are going on. So let's quickly look at what happened this game, because we had, wow, bishop c5 looks like a big blunder. Yeah, so again, so when you make a move, properly evaluate the threats, what's happening on the board. Bishop c5, the idea is yes, attacking the rook, but there's a bishop sitting on b4, it just simply captures a free piece basically. And I don't know what's this b4 move either, because black can just simply capture. Queen takes c3, and then if b takes c5, black can capture. Rook takes e2. And good time management by both players, and very good by black actually here. Tanya, she's spending her time evaluating how to win, or how to proceed from this point onwards. So I mean, there's a lot of attractive continuations for black, to be honest. Bishop takes b4 is playable, rook takes e2 is playable, and so on. So let's come back to this game. Let's look at this game between Uday and Karthik. Let's start from the beginning and so we have a Sicilian, and e6, a strong move, because bishop c4 is kind of putting some pressure here. So by going e6, you take away the pressure, and so here I would prefer to go c4 than knight takes d4. So because now this is an isolated pawn and it's weak. So a move like bishop f6 would not work, because bishop takes f6 and the queen is attacked. So white cannot capture the d5 pawn immediately. So okay, knight g4, very interesting idea. So black wants to threaten to capture, but white can just simply avoid all these complications by going bishop g3, or bishop e7 also he can play, but then he has to calculate some variations. Okay, so we are here, and rook f e8. So the point of it is, maybe black wants to go bishop f5 the next move if the white bishop moves. Let's see what. Okay, rook takes e6. Very smart decision by white in my opinion, so that he's basically closing this e file, so that white king can just freely walk into e2 without any pressure by the e8 rook. And queen takes g4, so I expect rook e7 on the board. Rook d3, so rook h3 maybe is the idea. a6. So this is, I believe, a very wrong move, because the game's whole action is revolving around the king's side and the center. So you should, when there is a lot of action happening on a certain area of the board, you should focus all your energies towards that particular area. So you should not be moving moves on the queen's side where there's actually nothing really happening, So let's come back to this game. Let's look at Moonwalker versus Lakantika, and let's start from the beginning. So we have a Rilopus with bishop c5. a6 is the most commonly played move here, and then after bishop c5, short castle, h3. Okay, so d3. Both sides are playing very solid. So even though it started off as a Rilopus, it has transposed into something like a 4 knights. And let's look at knight a4. Okay, so d4, a very good move, because now actually what black was threatening to go c6. So by d4, white clears this diagonal for his bishops. Very interesting. So far I think close to a perfect game. Not any big mistakes or blunders by either side in this game. And here I would have preferred maybe bishop b4, not like what was played. I would have preferred to move my queen, maybe queen f3, try to attack the knight and make the knight move here, pull back my bishop. And one very like long-term plan for white is to actually go g4, h4, g5 and try to attack the black king with the pawns. Because as white has more pawns than black, white has 4 pawns on the king side than black's 3, white's king would feel more safe even when you're pushing your pawns forward, advanced pawns on g5, f5 and so on. So here, so the game, so yeah, so white is kind of trying to find a good square for the bishop. So I would say g4, bishop g2 is one good diagonal to somehow, control. So okay, so white was not able to capture here because this pawn was hanging, so white ended up capturing with the bishop. And let's look at the other games. So yeah, so let's look at this. Let's look at Janaka versus Tanya. We left here, and I did mention that black had a lot of good options here, and black chose one of them, that is bishop takes b4. So after knight b5, queen d7. So now black has an extra piece and also I believe an extra pawn. So maybe bishop c5, then white goes d4. White's still not completely lost. I mean, materially, yeah, white is really down, but I believe white still could, there are chances for black to make some mistakes. So we'll see how this game progresses from here. So far the score is being 4-2 in favor of the Riverside School, and 3 more games to go. And let's look at, I believe we have left this game here. Yeah, not much has happened here, and I believe white's main idea here is to go g4, h4, g5, and black also has a solid position. I mean, black, I believe, should try to go something like c5, c4, attack the bishop, try to make the bishop go back, then bring the knight to e4, and try to play, use his pawn majority on the queen side of the board and try to create some active threats. So let's look at this game between Uday and Karthik. This was where we left, and I did mention that most likely white was planning to go rook h3. So here I do see some interesting ideas for black. Maybe black could have gone queen h1 check, push the king to e2 and try to go queen c1 attacking this pawn. But I believe white can even just simply go knight d1 and defend the pawn, and also try to go some rook h3 at later stage. So a6, and this is a nice little trick because black cannot capture due to the spin. And now rook f8. Okay, so black is hoping to, I guess, at some point double and put some pressure here, but immediately white can just simply capture on e6. And okay, that's what white did. And the good thing of e6 is that once the e6 pawn is gone off the board, d5 is hanging. So there's always knight takes d5 or bishop takes d5, and the king is very exposed on g8. So I believe this game is also pretty much in favor of white right now. Maybe rook e f7 is some idea for black, but worst case white can just simply go f3 and keep his king very safe, and then think about capturing on d5 and so on. So let's look at let me remove all these arrows, too many arrows on the board. So I guess they are still thinking, white is still thinking. And as you can see, game that's well thought out, played for a long time, produces a higher quality game, quality of the most. And white is, black is trying to play the ideas that I was kind of mentioning. Black goes c5, and white responds with c4 because white does realize that c4 and like losing control of the e4 square may not be in his favor. So white goes c4, trying to force b takes c4 and bishop takes c4. So let's look at this game between Chanaka and Tanya. So we left over here a6. So this is a very nice little move, I would say, because when white is attacking the black bishop, black just doesn't retreat with her bishop, but black counter attacks with a6. So here, if you play b5, it would be rook takes a1, rook e8, that would be all the rooks getting exchanged of the board, and I guess that's what happened in the game. Oh wow, so here white just missed the full rook. I mean, white at least could have captured here first, and then after queen takes rook, then capture queen takes rook, so that black would just be an extra rook up. But in this scenario, what happens is that black ends up now ending up capturing the full rook, and after bc6, now actually black has an extra rook on his hand. So black's material is very much ahead, and black's chances are very preferable here, in my opinion. And let us look at this game, I guess. Okay, so here black is thinking since we left last time, and here is b takes c6, and I guess black is again thinking. So let's focus our attention on this game because it's a very well fought game, this one between Sujan and Lekantika. So knight e7, a4. So white's idea is he wants to go bishop b5 and kind of attack the queen and the rook. Knight f5. Wow, nice trap that's set by black, because if you go bishop d5, I guess black wants to go knight d4 and bishop takes d7, and then it's knight f3 with a check. That's the key point. It's a check, and after gf3, then you capture knight takes d7, and black ends up with an extra pawn and also a very spoiled pawn structure. And here, if white tries to do something, let's say like queen takes f6 in this position, then black can just coolly capture knight takes b5. Because if queen f6, gf6, then yeah, bishop takes d7, and black would be a piece down. But if queen f6, knight b5, a very smart move by black, then black would end up with a very solid extra pawn. So white has to either go queen d3, but then just black captures knight b5, and black would have an extra pawn in that scenario as well. So let's get back to here, what happened. So after rook e6, black goes rook f6 in this game, rook e7, queen e7, and now knight takes d5 is what I expect, because then both the queen and the rook is attacked, and the bishop is also kind of eyeing at the king. So a lot of material is going to be lost by black in that scenario. So we'll see what happens. So knight d5 as expected, very strong move, good job by white for finding knight d5. And let's get to this game. So we were looking at here, knight a5, threatening to attack the queen, but I believe black can just move the queen away and slowly consolidate his extra rook. So maybe black can even go queen e6, threatening to exchange queens, or black can go queen b5 and attack the pawns. Okay, so black did go queen b5. So black is threatening to attack this pawn, and also one good thing of queen b5 is not just have some pressure on the b4 pawn, but also pressure on the d3 pawn. So it's a faceted move out there. And so let's get back to the other games. Okay, so let's quickly wait. Did I see some threads here? Okay, so here in this position, if white plays a careless move like knight e4, then there's actually a checkmate in one. But I believe white can just simply go something like knight d5. That's what has been played. And now the king has to move to f7 and again walk into this diagonal. And then once you walk into the diagonal, white can just play this, capture with a check. White can exchange the queens. White can do literally anything he wants. But the only cause of concern is, okay, white's time is 2 minutes, but I believe the position is so good that white, with that 5-second increment on the clock, white should not face any issues in my opinion here. So let's get back to this game. So as I was mentioning, queen f6 is played. So now it's black's turn to find knight b5. Black doesn't find knight b5, black is in big trouble. But let's see if black does or does not find knight b5. Because after knight b5, the queen actually has no good square. The queen may have to go f4, f3 or h4. And then either f4 and f3, black's response literally is the same. Black is just going to go knight d4. Wow, black did not see this intermediate knight takes b5. So important thing, always look at all the possible captures before you make a decision. And black had close to 7.5 minutes. So black could have easily spotted knight takes b5. And such a wonderfully played game by both the players. And up to this point, I was like, the game quality was very high. But okay, now we see some blunders happening. We'll see how the game progresses. So here we have checks, and in this game, okay, so we haven't talked about this game for a few minutes now. Rook e1 check. Okay, so black is trying to go after somehow. So for example, a good idea for black would be to go queen a1 and then try to go rook h1 and then try to bring the queen in and try to checkmate if possible. So that's one idea. Or queen h5 is a sound idea too, trying to put some pressure down the h3 pawn. So we'll see how the game progresses. So black just went rook e2. So this is also a simple idea, just rook takes f2 hanging. So there's no good way to defend. So if you go queen c5 trying to defend the pawn, black can just simply capture the queen, exchange the queen and then capture on f2 and then convert the extra material. So we'll see how this game progresses. So I think let's focus our attention on this game for now, because I believe this game would end at the earliest, because one, white has less time, so I believe the moves would be played far more quicker by both sides. And there's always a big problem for white, like if white moves some knight f6, let's say, there is a checkmate in one, so white needs to be careful. So in a position like this, there's two approaches you can do. Either try to find that killer move with your queen, because black's king's being chased around, or just try to exchange the queens. And I don't know why white they want for queen c7 exchange. White could have just exchanged with queen f6 and kept the bishop and knight advantage instead of trying to go for this which is still winning, but I would have preferred to keep a knight and bishop instead of just a bishop. Okay, so white just simplified and white has 3 extra pawns, so I guess there's really no technical difficulties, I believe, in this position for white to convert the win. Okay, so here is also, we are looking at a checkmate. So king g1 or h1, queen e1 check, or king g1, queen takes g3 is also possible. So once queen e1 is on the board, it's a checkmate, or queen takes g3, then it's a checkmate and one more move, not an immediate checkmate. So let's see what mode that Tanya chooses to play here. I mean, it's a very obvious move because the rook is also hanging, so black has to defend the rook also. And if it's with capturing a pawn and with a check, or directly with a check, it makes a lot more sense than just moving the rook away, maybe to rook e2 or rook d2 or somewhere over there. So we'll see how what black plays. And right now the score, I believe, is in favor of Riverside School with 4 points. And they've, out of 6 games that have ended, they've scored 4, and 2 points were scored by Chess Gyaan team. And so queen takes g3 was played. So I believe the 5th point for the Riverside School. So out of the 9 games, once you score more than the 50% as a team, they win. So this could be the winning game, even though there's still 2 more games where actually Riverside has good chances to win too. So this game is over, so Tanya wins the game, and that puts Riverside with 5 points out of 9 games. And let me update the scores. So we are okay, so this game also ended up in favor of Riverside. So Ooty won the game against Karthik, so that puts the score at 6 in favor of Riverside School, and with one last game to go. So congratulations to Riverside School participants and the coach and everyone from their team. So we left somewhere over here this game, and rook a3 looks like such interesting move. I wouldn't say it's a great move though, because somewhere white wants to go rook g3 check, but I mean, like for example here there is black could have played c3, because after rook takes c3 there's knight e2 check and win the rook. After c3 it's actually very tricky. How do you stop black from pushing the pawn further down the c file? Like c3, let's say I play king h2, let's say bishop d6 c3, and then I go king h2, then black would go c2, and if I go some bishop f4, then maybe black would go knight e2 and try to attack my bishop and try to push the c pawn and promote the queen. So c3 would have been a very, very practical decision by black, but black decided not to do that, and black goes knight e6. So now I believe the simplest option would be just simply capture. And so one other thing is, in case if you have, let's say, less time on the clock and you have an advantage, the best option is to just simplify. Don't try to calculate all the complications, but just simplify and try to keep everything under your control. So we'll see. So this is the last game of this match. Very interesting game. Some games ended up very, very quickly, quicker than Even before the stream started, some of the games did end. That was not really expected, so that was a bit interesting. I thought like we had some games that ended up in like 10 moves and like less than 10 moves. Uh, but overall, a lot of games had a lot of interesting positions and moments to analyze, to learn from them, and okay, bishop b4. So as you know, the bishop was attacked by the knight, so white decides to just move the bishop away. And I believe white really wants us to checkmate the black king. So white is really going for something like rook g3, bishop c3, and then if the knight moves, some sort of bishop f5 check, and try to create a mating net around the black king. That's what white is going for in this position. So we'll see how the game progresses. Both sides, black has 4 minutes and white has a minute and a half, or like close to 2 minutes white has. And yeah, so let's wait for black to make a decision. And so yeah, so to the viewers watching the channel, there's a lot of good beginner content that we have, so you can subscribe to the channel if you do want to. And we are also posting a lot of videos on a regular basis, so if you do want to learn some general chess tips or content that would interest you, you can definitely subscribe to the channel. So let me remove the arrows so that it's less confusing. So knight c7, so what could possibly be the idea? So I guess black wants to go knight d5, put some pressure on this bishop. So for example, if I was white, as I said, my main plan would be try to go rook g3, but then knight d5, bishop f5 check, rook c3. So white is kind of mixing both ideas. Like at one hand, he wants to win material, kind of eliminate the dangers in the black position. On the other hand, his decisions look like he wants to go for the checkmate. So you see a bit of uncertainty in white's plan here. So because you see rook a3 being played, then you think that maybe the plan is to go rook g3, but then suddenly white is trying to win some material with a pawn and so on. So this kind of uncertainty in the decisions is better to be avoided. So if you are thinking, okay, I will just go and try to checkmate my opponent, then just stick with that plan instead of trying to confuse two different plans. And clock could also play a very big role in this game. I mean, first of all, black's pieces, materially black is down, but also black had a huge time advantage at the start of, like, let's say a few minutes ago, and now black has burnt all the extra time. So I believe actually black may end up with less time than white if we see this trend continues for a few more moves. Okay, so it's allowing bishop f5 check. Again, now it's basically game over. So black has just lost the rook. So again, what we see is checks, basic tactical elements, pins, checks, forks, a lot of basic tactical elements itself. If you fix, you end up becoming a very strong, from the beginner level, you can easily move on to the intermediate level as a chess player. And now the double bishops and the rook, it's white's choice if white wants to win material or if white tries to do some checkmate moves with g3. And this is the last game of this match, and congratulations to the Riverside team. They have scored, I believe, 6 points. Yeah, 6 points out of 8 games, and this is the 9th game. So we had 9 players from Chess Gyaan play against 9 players of the Riverside School from Ooty. And I believe the Riverside School also had some sort of like a tournament to choose the players, like a qualifier. So they chose the best players they had. Congratulations to them for winning the match. So that is still some trickiness though. If white is very careless, there's always a chance for stalemate tricks. But we'll see how the game progresses. So a6, so white just says, okay, I'm going to make a promote to a new queen, and then I'm going to checkmate. This queen was not required, but yeah, it's everyone has their own style of how they want to win this position. So white says, I'm going to just make make a new queen on the board, and then win, because a queen, then it makes the life so much more simple to checkmate. Will white play bishop f4 is the question now. So white goes for a7. After knight b7, will white go a8 queen, or will white first play bishop f4? Okay, so white gave up 2 bishops to make a new queen. Technically, still a good trade, but white could have just held on to the pieces and also itself made a queen. So white had a bigger material advantage. So queen f5 check. So yeah, we are seeing a mate in 2 basically. Rook c7 check and queen c8 checkmate. Or queen g6 and then mate in 1 after queen d6. Okay, so that brings an end of this match. Let me update the scoreboard as Sujan wins. So that's a 3 points for Chess Gyaan against 6 for Riverside School. So fantastic result first of all, congratulations to the Riverside School and also all the players, like a lot of talent and a lot of great ideas shown. So good job by players from both the teams for playing, giving their best and trying to, use all the skills that they have learned so far in chess. So good job. This is the final score. So 3 points for Chessgyaan team and 6 for Riverside School. It was a 9-player match, and big thanks to the Riverside School for also cooperating and accepting to play this match. So big thanks to the management of the school and also to the chess team in the school, and I guess a lot of the staff and support staff in the school. So thanks everyone for watching, and we will see you all in our channel with a different event or a different video live stream sometime soon. And thanks everyone for tuning in. We had a lot of viewers today. Thank you everyone for watching today. Bye bye everyone, and we'll see you all sometime soon in a different stream. Bye bye.